Is there any indication from U.S. intelligence that Iran was able to move any material, including
No, we just the
uranium?
opposite. We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move. It's called in many people they call it dust, but it's very, very heavy. It's very, very hard to move. And they were way down. You know, they're 30 stories down. They're literally 30, 35 stories down underground.
I think you got it all.
Oh yeah, we think it's covered with granite, concrete, and steel.
There's public imagery available saying that highly enriched uranium was moved out of Fordo before the strikes. Is that accurate? Have you seen that?
There's nothing that I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
We're certain that the uranium was removed from the facility before the B-2 struck.
So I'm not aware of any intelligence that I've reviewed that says things were not where they were supposed to be, moved or otherwise.
Thanks, Caroline. The president mentioned in a Truth Social post that no enriched uranium was moved from Fordo. What about the other two sites, Isfahan and Natanz? And how can the president be so sure that no uranium was moved?
Well, what I can assure you is that the United States and our intelligence agencies and Director Ratcliffe and the President's entire national security team were obviously watching these sites very closely in the weeks and the days leading up to the attack on Saturday, which I will add was one of the most secretive and successful operations in United States history. I think many of you in this room would agree with that because none of you in this room knew about the strike on Saturday until it took place. So we were watching closely, and there was no indication to the United States that any of that enriched uranium was moved prior to the strike.
From any of the sites?
Correct.
As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were, now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while. I believe that, and again, time will tell, but I don't believe that they're going to go back into nuclear anytime soon. They spent over $1 trillion on nuclear and they never got it together. And nothing was moved from the site, by the way. To do that is very dangerous. It's very, very heavy material. Those cars were most likely the cars of masons because they were pouring concrete at the top, at the hatch, as you know, the hatch going into the nuclear site. They wanted to reinforce it, and they had some masons there pouring concrete. By the way, that concrete was obliterated. It hit exactly at the concrete. It was, I don't think it had a chance to dry, but everything's down there. It's under millions of tons of rock.
Do you think that the Iranian regime hid some of the enriched uranium before the strikes?
No. You mean did they take it out of the deep one? No.
Because you were pretty clear you can't have a weapon, you're going to have to come to the talk, something's going to happen.
I don't think they did. No, I think, first of all, it's very hard to do. It's very dangerous to do. It's very heavy, very, very heavy. It's a very hard thing to do. Plus, we didn't give them much notice because they didn't know we were coming until just, then. And nobody thought we'd go after that site because everybody said that site is impenetrable.
Because I saw reports that there were 400 kilograms, 800 pounds that they moved. Yeah. But I wonder if it's traceable. I mean, if they were to have moved
They didn't move anything. You know what they moved? Themselves. They were all trying to live. They didn't move anything.
In June of 2008, you can see these three holes. Depicted here is the main exhaust shaft with two additional ventilation shafts on either side. The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordo, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were.
Would you stop there? This is an example of deception or just profound ignorance by the chair of the Joint Chiefs. If you put a cap on top of these vents, which is obvious they did, we can see that they did. And in fact, that indicates to us that they were forewarned of the attack, which also indicates that they would have almost certainly removed the uranium, the enriched uranium that we were going to target, because that's an easy thing to do.
What happens when uranium is exploded? What kind of evidence would there be? What would we see or what would we be able to tell
uranium-235 being exploded by a conventional means or being damaged by uranium, it would be uranium hexafluoride gas. Iranians supposedly have about maybe 600 kilograms of highly enriched, 60% enriched uranium hexafluoride. This is the gas that they would use in the centrifuges. Well, you could put that in one canister. You know, these big drums that they drag around. You could put that on the back of a truck and move it. So,
yeah, talk about that. What is the degree of difficulty of moving this uranium, if they did, and a lot of people believe they did?
It's like moving, a ton of material on a truck. I mean, you just have a 5-ton truck, or the back of a pickup truck. You can almost
because they're trying to describe it like it was almost an impossibility for them to get it out there in a short amount of time.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's just trying to play on the non-expert lack of knowledge in the public. I don't use the term ignorance here because there's no reason, if you're not an expert, you should know these details. So they're trying to play on the lack of expertise of an interested and intelligent audience. What are you talking about here? This is ridiculous. They have these canisters that they use to store uranium hexafluoride. One canister can carry all the uranium hexafluoride, load it on a truck, a small truck, drive it into a deep tunnel somewhere, and it can't be reached even if you know where the tunnel is.
So that's not only plausible, it's likely that that's what occurred.
Likely. I mean, these guys are out there pouring concrete days before an attack or weeks before an attack. You mean they're not going to move this stuff where they know that we know the location? We know the location because the International Atomic Energy Agency publishes the location data. And the Iranians have been following the agreement to keep the International Atomic Energy Agency informed. They have announced that they will no longer keep the International Atomic Energy Agency informed. Now we know nothing about their program. They could be right now enriching that uranium to a bomb at a rate, I would say, if they only had a small centrifuge, 1/20th the site at Fordo, they could be enriching 60% to 90% uranium to 25 kilograms of 90% uranium once a week.
Ted, and you know how many
a bomb a week at this point with next to no enrichment capabilities, with a small fragment of their capabilities. Now, who understands the state of the Iranian program would not advise a military group of officers? It was destined to fail.
And what you just described a little bit about what they're doing with the uranium now has been called an impossibility by everyone in the administration, basically from the top on down.